Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. TRO 2016. The Tro Zones Dashboard. Even more features. I've really been on a programming tear this past few weeks, and I thought of a few more things to add to the dashboard. So now it's got, everything including the kitchen sink, the whole Megillah. And so you can see here, there's so many columns that the price or the pair buttons are off the screen. But recent additions are the breakout by time. So I like to use the 1 hour bar and the 3 o'clock time frame based on my broker's time, and also the 1400. The 3 o'clock is the first hour of the Asian session. And so after that Asian session, that first hour is over with, I like to trade the breakout if price breaks out. That's if I'm trading the Asian session. And let's see. I put in the pivot trading plan. I sent out a couple of documents that talked about different things in pivots and how to trade them. And one other thing is, I gave you a space to put in a user comment, and you know what I like to say. And also, I translated some of these into English. So for example, here on the pivots, it says NZD USD lower value. That's one of these two. Here's the NZD. It's also below the middle pivot point. Okay, and it's also prices above the highest open. So we've got a holo trade, and we've got a breakout of the H4, so we can narrow it down. And so some people have a hard time understanding some of these codes and memorizing them. So there's a switch in here that you can turn on and off for the dashboards. And you can, if you don't want to see the messages, you just turn it to false and no messages. Now, once again, you can turn these columns off, and it's really simple to do. All you do is, if you don't want to see a particular column, you just turn it to 0. And those columns went away. So see here, we've got the GPS columns. We got the average range and the range. I added the spread column because sometimes, especially during the Asian session, the spreads can get wide and it's like there's no sense. And there's also a threshold here. You can see if it's greater than 2 on the threshold. And I'm adding more thresholds. I've made a special one for spread and then also for the rat zone. So what'll happen is, you can see here in the rat zone, since this is only 1 hour, or we're into the second hour of the Australian session, it hasn't ranged enough, so everything is within the rat zones, but it really doesn't even count because we don't have enough range. The range should actually be at least 40 before you consider a rat zone reversal trade. Let's see if I've got anything else here to tell about. That's about it. But once again, let me just show you something here. Somebody wrote in and said, how come these numbers are the same? Well, it's kind of it's a lazy way and a slick way. What's really slick is, let's say you wanted something to go between these two columns. Let's just say, for example, you wanted to put the previous close. Well, then maybe you could have to change this to 15 and change that to 14. Oh no, now I've got to change all these. Well, no, you don't. You can just put that to 13, and you see it came right here. Because the way it works is, the indicator does a loop, starts with 1. Okay, has anything got a 1? If it does, put it out. Anything with a 2, anything with a 3. So you can have multiple at the same numbers, and the indicator just goes ahead and plots that out. So that was kind of a slick way, lazy way, so you don't have to go back through here and change all these numbers. Now, just some of the other things, you can change the font sizes and on the buttons, the button height and width, symbols. Now, some people, remember, if you've got a Talon-X broker, something that uses an addition or a suffix, it goes here. I explained about the thresholds and, of course, all the different colors. The NFP dates come loaded. Starting next year, you're going to have to go through and start changing these. So you can either keep every month, just put the new one in, and then you leave the old ones, or you can get rid of the old ones and just use the current ones. It's up to you. That's the whole thing with this indicator. It's up to you, the trader. You've got all the power you want. Now, I thought I'd show you, this is the screen that I use. Okay. This is how I decide what I want to trade, what pair. And what I mainly look for is these three columns to be lit up. It's like a slot machine, 3 cherries coming up. And then if I'm doing the breakout, well, right now the hour is not there, so I just have to wait. In fact, this morning I waited almost 3 hours to place my first trade because there was nothing lit up. I mean, they had 2, but nothing was in the ATR zone. And I waited and I waited, and I finally got my trades. And that's part of trading. It can be boring because, see right here, nothing's in the ATR zone. This isn't in there. It says wait, don't be an idiot. No matter what, see, nothing's in. So I've got that in there to tell me not to be an idiot and trade when something's, try and do one of my favorite reversal trades when it's not in the ATR zone. Yeah, I might miss some, but the thing is, the ones I hit, I usually hit pretty good, because once price gets in those ATR zones, it just really likes to reverse out. So this is how I choose which pairs to trade. And sometimes I'll hit the Alt T button right there, and I'll come up and I'll put a trade on that way, right off of this screen, especially if it's right up there and I don't feel like going to another screen. That's what I do. Now remember, with these buttons, you can use the indicator right here. You can change all charts true, so whenever I hit a button on this chart, that's what happens. But on this chart, I don't have it set. So if I hit a button here, nothing happens. But actually, it doesn't really matter because this is blanked out anyway. But that just goes to show you, you can either change all, or you can just change it for the chart you're looking at. But if you come here and click it, they all change. Now, this is the chart that I use for exits. I have a different chart for entry than I do for exits. I have this usually, I'll put this on the 1 minute time frame. And this one I usually have on the H1. And you can see here, a lot of lines appear. But the thing is, I like to know where these pivot lines are, because that might, if I was going short, that might mean it's stalling. If I'm going long and it gets up there, it might be a good time to take profit. And what I did was, I also use the Zones Dashboard, but another neat little feature here that you can do is, you come down and where you load in the symbols, you just blank it out. And it'll just take the symbol from the chart we're looking at. So right now we're looking at the CAD, the dollar Canadian, and you can see here I've got what I like to see. So on this chart, I've got my GPS, I've got the spread, I even have the price here. Normally I had that magnified market price that I modified, but this gives me even a little more information because I can see things that are hitting up here. And it also gives me the English. I put that on. You can take that off once again by just setting the input to false, and then you don't have that. So I like to have this up on the screen because it helps me. And then of course I've got all the different multimeters, and I'm looking for the highest open, lowest open trades. And let me just go over one little thing when it comes to those type of trades. If we come down and we do an F11, and let's see, can I get to it? Let's just open up a new chart here, and I'm just going to use solid candles, and we're on H1. So let's scrunch it down just a little bit. Actually, the pound's probably not the best, but we can use it anyway. You can see here, if you would have went short at the highest open, you'd make money. And then you see here, if you go long at the lowest open, you make money. The thing is, of course, we don't know where the lowest open and highest open is going to be till the day is over. But that's okay, because every hour, once that highest open gets put in, it doesn't move. It's the open price. As opposed to the high and the low, they can get reset anytime. But we can only have 24 opens. Not all of them are going to be the highest, and not all of them are going to be the lowest. But that's part of the secret of holo, because even if you go to a daily chart, once again you see the highest open. If you go short here, well, even forget the crash, but you can see what happens. And if you look here, here was the lowest open on the screen. It goes up. You see here, it got near it again. It goes up. So you can trade off of that. You can even do this on the weekly. Once again, you have a lowest open. You have another lowest open. You have even another lowest open. Or you look, you get the highest open. Look what happens. Comes back up, makes, here we go, we have a local high open here. Some people might say, yeah, you're just using swings or something. But the difference is, this open price is fixed. Once it's set, it doesn't move. So we have fixed positions. So if the price goes up and comes back down through that open, we might as well take that short. Because you see here's a perfect example. It made a high, failed to make a new high, and it came down. Now here's a different example. Here it went up, it made a high, but it came down through the previous high, came down through the previous close, came down through the open, and then it continued down. So those are two of the things to look for, where price fails to make a high and cuts through the highest open, or it makes a new high and then it cuts back through the highest open. So that's about it, traders. I hope you enjoy using this indicator, the TRO 2016 TRO Zones Dashboard. But always remember, it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. The Rumpled One, signing off.